a man, a giant, and a kingdom. So many times when we think of these kind of things, we think of fairy tales. But 3,000 years ago, a shepherd boy fought a giant because he sought the kingdom in God. This is the story of David versus Goliath. And we'll be in 1 Samuel 17. So verse 3. The Philistines stood on the mountain on one side, while Israel stood on the mountain on the other side, with the valley between them. So think of this. On one side, you have Israel, God's chosen people, looking at this vast army of the Philistines on the other side. But one thing separates them, and that is this valley. So let's continue. Then a champion came out from the armies of the Philistines named Goliath from Gath, whose height was 6 cubits and a span. Now 6 cubits is 9 feet. So this is like when you walk into a gym and you see the big buff guy just pushing out reps. It's like he's on steroids or something. So he stood and shouted to the ranks of Israel, and he said to them, "Why do you come out to draw battle in a battle array? Am I not the Philistine, and you servants of Saul? Choose a man for yourselves and let him come down to me. If he is able to fight with me and kill me, then he will become your servants, or we will become your servants. But if I prevail against him and kill him, then you shall become our servant and serve us." Again the Philistines said, "I defy the ranks of Israel this day. Give me a man that we may fight together." When Saul and all Israel heard these words of the Philistine, they were dismayed and greatly afraid. So here's the thing. In this time, instead of having a whole armies fight each other, you would sometimes have a champion from one nation fight a champion from another nation. Now, because Goliath came to Israel as the Philistines' champion, he was calling out for a champion from Israel. And because nobody wanted to fight Goliath, many times in these situations, the king would fight the champion of the other nation, and that would be Saul. But since Saul was scared, he did not even want to fight this 9-foot giant. So let's continue. Verse 12. Now David was the son of the Ephrathite of Bethlehem in Judah, whose name was Jesse, and he had 8 sons. And Jesse was old in the days of Saul, advanced in years among men. So here we see the hero come into the story, David, who is the son of Jesse. David was the youngest. Now the 3 oldest followed Saul. So David was the youngest. He was the shepherd boy. Nothing special really about him. And then you have 3 sons of Jesse who are following Saul in battle, who are watching Goliath defy them. So let's see. The Philistine came forward morning and evening for 40 days and took his stand. So 40 days, this Philistine came out and said, "I defy the ranks of Israel." Do you know how sad that must have been for Saul, the king of Israel, to see this for 40 days and not do anything, probably feeling useless? Then Jesse said to David, his son, "Take now for your brothers an ephah of this roasted grain and these 10 loaves and run to the camp to your brothers." So Jesse's basically saying to David, to bring this food to his brothers who stand on the one mountain watching Goliath defy them. As he was talking with them, this is David talking to other Israelites, with them, behold, the champion, the Philistine from Gath named Goliath, was coming out from the army of the Philistines, and he spoke these same words, and David heard them. Now, this is like in high school, guys. This is like gossip, all right? You have a popular group Goliath being the leader of that group, and then you have David, who is the leader of the less popular group, and Goliath saying like, "Oh, David sucks," and David hearing that, and you're like, "Oh my gosh, David heard it. David heard him say that. There's gonna be a fight in the parking lot." That's how this is going down. So, when David heard this, he said to Saul, "Let no man's heart fail on account of him. Your servant will go and fight with this Philistine." So out of all the army of Israel, David says, "Your servant will go. I will go and fight this Philistine." Then Saul said to David, "You are not able to go against this Philistine to fight with him, for you are but a youth, while he has been a warrior from his youth." But David said to Saul, "Your servant was tending his father's sheep. When a lion or a bear came and took a lamb from the flock, I went out after him and attacked him and rescued it from his mouth. And when he rose up against me, I seized him by his beard and struck him and killed him. Your servant has killed both the lion and the bear, and this uncircumcised Philistine will be like one of them, since he has taunted the armies of the living God." So because David was a shepherd boy, he would attend to the flocks of sheep. So what this is saying is, when a lion or a bear would attack one of the sheep and drag the sheep away, David would be the one to go and kill and fight off this lion or bear to save the sheep. And this is exactly what he's doing in this battle. He says, and David said, "The Lord who delivered me from the paw of the lion and from the paw of the bear, he will deliver me from the hand of this Philistine." And Saul said to David, "Go, and may the Lord be with you." So David is going out now to fight this big, giant, 9-foot Philistine. So it's the underdog versus the empire. So here we see David's choice of weapon. He took his stick in his hand and chose for himself 5 smooth stones from the brook, and put them in the shepherd's bag, which he had even in his pouch, and his sling was in his hand, and he approached the Philistine. He has a sling and stones, versus a Philistine who has been a warrior from his youth, who has a sword, a javelin, and all this. The Philistine said to David, "Am I a dog?" Like, he looks at David and he's like, "Are you serious?" He said, "Am I a dog that you come to me with sticks?" And the Philistine cursed David by his gods. The Philistine also said to David, "Come to me, and I will give your flesh to the birds of the sky, the beasts of the field." And David said to the Philistine, "You come to me with a sword, a spear, and a javelin. But I come to you in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have taunted." Now the Philistines had different gods. So to Goliath, this is probably like, "Oh yeah, your fake god. Yeah, what's he gonna do?" But this is the Lord of hosts. It says, "This day the Lord will deliver you up into my hand, and I will strike you down and remove your head from you, and I will give the dead bodies of the armies of the Philistines this day to the birds of the sky and the wild beasts of the earth, that all the earth may know that there is a God in Israel, and that all this assembly may know that the Lord does not deliver by sword or by spear, for the battle is the Lord's, and he will give you into our hands." Then it happened, when the Philistine rose and came and drew near to meet David, that David ran quickly toward the battle line to meet the Philistine. So as Goliath, this 9-foot giant, is walking towards David, David runs to the Philistine. And it says, "And David put his hand into his bag and took from it a stone from the brook that he went to." He had a stone versus a sword. Unbelievable. Let's see. And David put his hand into his bag and slung it and struck the Philistine on his forehead, and the stone sank into his forehead so that he fell on his face to the ground. Thus David prevailed over the Philistine with a sling and a stone. And he struck the Philistine, yet we knew that, and killed him. But there was no sword in David's hand. Then David ran and stood over the Philistine, and took his sword, and drew it out of its sheath, and killed him, and cut off his head with it. When the Philistines saw that their champion was dead, they fled. It's so funny, because we look at stories like this, where you have the underdog facing this massive giant, and him prevailing. And it's crazy because David's story, this battle, it applies to us too. It's our battle too. Because in this life, God has a great plan for us. And the thing is, before us stands our own Goliath. No matter whether that's pornography or addictions, alcohol, drunkenness, drugs, fear, all these things, they're our Goliath. Idols are our Goliath. And the thing is, they're put in our lives so that we can prevail over them. The thing is, God was with David. He's with us too. He used David in such a mighty way to show the world that God is with him. Just like David, we have our sword of the Spirit, truth. So I'm going to ask you to do something so scary right now, but believe me, God has greater plans for you. I'm going to ask you to pick up your stone. Pick up your stone and defeat your Goliath. Strike your Goliath with the truth of God. For God is with you. It's such an amazing thing, let me tell you. I have seen God in my life in so many ways. I've seen him defeat Goliath after Goliath. Because the Lord is with us. It's such an amazing thing. It's our story too. This is why this is in here. To show that the underdog, no matter who it is, with God, can defeat anything. Guys, I want to close this video out by saying that yeah, we may have a Goliath in our way. But it is for us to take up truth. It's for us to take up our stone and defeat him. Also, I want to just say quickly that I'm going to leave the comments open to prayer requests. So if you want me to pray for you, your family, or whatever is going on, that I will pray for you. I'm going to end this video asking if you guys liked the video to give it a like. And if you possibly want to subscribe, that's cool too. More videos will be out, and they are on their way, guys. God is working in amazing ways, and I will see you guys in the next video.